大家早安。
Good morning, everyone.
今天很高兴，也是天恩师德。
Today, Master is very delighted. It's all because of the heavenly mercy and the Buddha's blessing,
还有祖师的弘持大愿，
as well as the patriarch's great vows and the vows from the Buddhas.
各位有这一份心，我们一起在云端见面。
And of course, for all of your dedication, so that we can be gathered again in the cloud.
那或许今天要跟各位谈的，也是继续上一次的。
So Master Chen will continue from last time his topic,
福慧双修的课题。
looking into the deeper context about the merits and the cultivation.
上一次我们谈到福报跟福德，
And last time we looked at briefly about the fortunate merits and the virtuous merits.
福报是世间法的成就，
So the fortunate merits are the worldly achievements.
我们看到世界上有很多人，
And we know in this world there are many people,
他很有福报。
they seems very fortunate.
什么叫做有福报？
What does that mean by being very fortunate?
有很多的钱财，
So whether they have lots of wealth,
这个是福报。
this is a material merit.
有人长得很好看，叫做相好。
Some people, they have very good appearance, so that's a material appearance merit as well.
这个也是福报。
This type of merit is also good.
有人有很高的功名，
Some people are very elite in the community with a high social status.
这个也是福报。
This is also a merit.
但是这一些福报
But these types of merits,
都不是突然发生的，
they don't happen coincidentally.
都是从上一辈子所造的善因，
These are all occurred because from their past previous lives' good deeds.
这一辈子才得到善果。
And then this lifetime, they realize it into their material merit.
虽然这些是善果，
So even these are the good outcomes,
但是终究是生不带来，死不带去。
but it never can be taken beyond this physical life.
所以我们修道人不是要求世间的福报，
As a Tao cultivator, we are not just looking at this lifetime's benefits.
我们要求出世间的福德。
We are seeking for a way to emancipate from the worldly sufferings.
因为福德是以后我们要成道的助缘，
And the only way we can do so is accumulate sufficient spiritual merits.
助缘就是可以帮助我们成道的。
And these spiritual merits can help us reach the Tao enlightenment.
那出世间法的福德如何得到的呢？
So how do we accumulate the spiritual merit that can help us emancipate from the reincarnation cycles?
就是当你在布施的时候，
That occurs when you are doing the giving.
你心里面没有想到是我在布施的念头，
And at that moment, you haven't have the thought of doing the good deed.
这个叫做无相的布施，
This is the unconditional and unattached giving.
这个就可以得到出世间的福德。
This is what accumulates the spiritual merits that can help us emancipate from reincarnation.
另外就是从自己本性自然生发出来的。
And another type is directly from your innate conscious.
我们本性中就有很好的性德，
So from your Buddha nature, we already have all types of good virtues.
比如说我们关心别人，
For example, we look after others.
我们去做义工，
We volunteer our time.
我们去救度众生，
We're doing charitable works.
这些都是我们本性里面就有的。
These are all qualities and virtues directly from our innate nature.
我们称之它为性德。
So this is our innate spiritual merit.
把这些性德呢，很自然的生发出来。
When we are very naturally manifesting and revealing these spiritual merits,
这个叫做自性起作用。
This is when your Buddha nature is operating.
这样所得到的德行
And these types of spiritual merits you gain from it
叫做出世间的福德。
are the spiritual merits can then help us to be freed from this material world.
出世间的福德是成道的助缘。
So these spiritual merits are what propels us to reach the Buddhahood enlightenment.
不管你修任何的法门，
So no matter what type of Dharma practices we're practicing,
少掉了这个福德，
if we still lack the spiritual merits,
你都不可能回到净土去。
it is impossible for us to return to the Pure Land.
就像净土中讲的，不可以少福德因缘往生净土。
So as mentioned by the Buddhist sect of the Pure Land sect, they mentioned that we can't reach the Pure Land if we don't have enough credit of spiritual merit.
我们道场也说啊，
In the Tao Temple, we also mention,
你如果没有行功了愿，
if we haven't been fulfilling our vows and accumulating our merits,
所谓3000功800果，
the so-called 3,000 deeds and 800 accomplishments.
你又要回到净土去呀、
So if we don't have them and want to go back to heaven,
你会走得很困难，
it will be a very difficult process
因为没有智德，
because you haven't gained your spiritual enlightenment.
你修的道就不凝固。
Your Tao cultivation will not be solid.
所以我们修道必须要培养出世间的福德。
So this is why when we cultivate Tao, we must accumulate the spiritual merit.
那在道场上如何培养自信中的福德呢？
So how do we accumulate the spiritual merit in the Tao Temple?
那后学就提出我们常常在课堂上听到的几点来跟各位说明。
The Master will share a few points with us that we often mention in the temple.
第一个就是要力行三施，
So the first is perform the 3 types of giving.
三施就是3种布施。
So the 3 types of giving are the 3 types of contributions you can make.
第一个布施就是用钱来布施，
The first type is a monetary giving.
比如你把钱捐给道场，
For example, you donate to the Tao Temple,
你把它捐给慈善机构，
or you donate it to a charitable cause,
或者你把钱捐给一些比较困难的人，
or you take this money and give it to those really in need.
这个叫做财的布施。
This is your monetary giving.
而这些财的布施会让我们下一辈子得到很多的福报。
And this type of monetary giving will generate a lot of good material wealth for us in the next life.
各位有没有发现，其实这个世界里面有时候觉得很不公平？
Have we ever thought about this world? Is it a fair or justice world?
我比人家聪明，
Sometimes there are people who are very smart,
我也比人家努力，
or you feel you're hardworking, more hardworking than others.
但是我就是赚的钱比人家少，
But we often end up with little money compared with others.
这到底是什么原因呢？
What is the reason behind this?
就是你上一辈子都从来没有财布施，
It's because from our previous lives, we haven't been doing the monetary giving.
所以你这一辈子没有福报。
So this life we are lacking in the material merits.
尽管你比人家聪明，
So even you are very smart and intelligent,
你也比人家努力，
you are more hardworking than anyone else.
但是终究是钱赚的不会比别人多。
But in the end, you still haven't got much material wealth left compared with others.
因为你上辈子没有财施，
It's because that's from our past lives' lack of material giving.
那所以我们在道场上修道啊，
So that's why we now Tao cultivators.
要多做财施。
We need to increase on our monetary giving.
财施不一定要布施很多，
It doesn't need to have a large amount.
就看你那一份诚意。
It all depends on your sincerity.
当你在布施的时候，
When you are doing the monetary giving,
心里面没有想说我在布施，
you haven't been thinking about it, oh, I'm going to help someone.
也没有想到我下一辈子要得到福报，
and you haven't been thinking that, oh, next life, what am I going to get?
这个就是我们道场所谓的无相布施。
This is what we call in the temple the unconditional giving.
第二个是法施，
The second type of giving is the Dharma giving,
把你懂的道理，
which means the knowledge and Tao knowledge you know,
或者你看过的经典，
or those sutra learnings you have come across,
或者你今天听到的道理，
or some of the good teachings you have heard today,
你觉得不错，
you know it's very beneficial.
转告给你可以交往的朋友，
You then go and tell and share with your friends and family around you,
让他能够开智慧，
so that they can also initiate their wisdom.
这个叫做法施。
This is what is called Dharma giving.
我们看到这世界上很多人，
We can see a lot of people in the world,
一看到经典，
whenever they see a sutra,
他马上就能开悟。
straight away they understand and be enlightened of this meaning.
我们也看到世界上很多人，
And we also see a lot of people,
他一看到经典就马上睡着。
whenever they pick up or go near a sutra, they fall asleep.
为什么差这么多呢？
Why such discrepancies?
一个是上一辈子他法师很多，
One is because the person who has a lot of knowledge is from their past life, they've done a lot of Dharma giving.
一个是从来没有法师，
On the other hand, the other person have never performed any Dharma giving.
所以这一辈子没有智慧。
So that's why their lives is different with wisdom
Y-
and without wisdom.
一看到经典就睡着了。
Some that whenever they near a sutra, they fall asleep straight away.
所以我们道场上给我们很多的机会，
So in the Tao Temple, we do have a lot of opportunities.
你可以把你开悟的道理，
From those knowledge and insights of Tao you now understand,
你听到了以后，生命会有感受的道理，
all these teachings, and now you have enlightened from your conscience,
讲给别人听，
you can now share this with more people.
这个叫做法师。
This is the form of Dharma giving.
第三就是无畏施。
And the third is the selfless giving.
我们看到这一个世界上的人
So we see sometimes people,
很健康，身体很好，
there are ones who are very healthy, they have very good health,
而且很长寿。
as also have a longevity.
为什么能够这样呢？
How come they can achieve this?
因为他们上一辈子都有无畏施。
That's because in their previous life they have performed a lot of the selfless giving.
什么叫做无畏施？
So what does it mean by selfless giving?
当你在付出的时候，
So when you're contributing,
心里面没有一点点害怕。
you have no thoughts of fear.
比如说，
For example,
你来佛堂来帮忙做 garden，
like if you come to the Tao Temple and you work in our gardens,
做那一些很粗重的东西。
you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting.
我上一个礼拜看那个 Jeremy，
Just like last week, Master sees Jeremy at the temple.
他带一个可能是他女朋友或者是他朋友，
And also he came along with Dawn, his partner.
好，对他的 partner 来佛堂做无畏施。
So they are coming to temple and perform the selfless giving.
太阳很热，
Even it's under the large hot sunny day.
满身大汗，
Everyone is sweating,
但是他一点都不会觉得辛苦。
but they don't feel any sense of a burden.
这个叫做无畏施。
This is the form of selfless giving.
无畏就是不会害怕辛苦了。
In other words, they are not afraid of the burdens.
像这种人，
So this type of performance,
他的身体一定会健康，
they would actually lead to a very good, healthy life for them,
而且一定会长寿，
and definitely have the longevity,
多素食，
as well as being the vegetarian and vegan lifestyle.
不杀生，
We prevent from all types of killing,
他的身体一定会健康。
then our health will definitely be on the good side.
各位有没有发现，我们最近最让人家害怕的，
Have we come across or recently realized some of the things that is very fearful.
就是那个新冠肺炎。
It's the new COVID-19.
为什么会有这个瘟疫流行病呢？
How come this came out from nowhere?
就是共业的感召。
This is actually the accumulation of the karmic accumulation of karma.
众生杀生太多了，
The sentient beings all have performed a lot of the killing, so it's a collective karma.
所以我们台湾在推行啊，
So in Taiwan, we're promoting
一周一定要吃1天的素，
at least 1 week, you need to have 1 day being a vegetarian or vegan.
1天一定要吃1餐的素。
And at least if 1 day, you should have 1 meal that is vegetarian or vegan.
目的是什么呢？
What is the purpose?
减少业障。
It's to reduce on our karmic burden.
每个人都能够这样的话，
And if everyone can perform that,
就能够保持人类的健康。
we can at least preserve the health of all population.
看到那一些好吃的鱼跟肉，
And sometimes you see those fish or meat, then you think it is tasty.
你心里面不会动，
But as you perform the vegetarian way, you now don't see them as tasty.
这个叫做无畏施。
This is also a form of selfless giving.
如果我们能力行3施啊，
So if we can perform these 3 types of givings whenever we can,
我们就能培植福德。
this is our way we accumulate our spiritual merits.
第二个，我们要能够懂得去度众成全道亲。
And the second point is we need to look at how to help sentient beings understand and receive the Tao.
度众是什么意思呢？
What does it mean to reach out to help people learn about Tao?
众生在这个苦海的此岸，
So sentient beings, they are still suffering in this sea of suffering.
我们要驾一艘法船，
We need to help them and sail this salvation boat
把它渡到解脱的彼岸。
so that we can rescue them and bring them to the shore of enlightenment.
简单的讲，
In simpler terms,
就是要从这个苦海的世间，
it's from this world filled with lots of suffering
把它带到天堂去。
and take their hand so that we can take them towards heaven.
我们怎么有这种能力呢？
How can we achieve that?
我们怎么能够把人带到天堂去呢？
How can we physically take people to heaven?
但是我们可以借仙佛的力量。
It's actually using the works of the Buddhas as well.
今天上天把回天的路指点给我们了，
The heavens have laid the path today for us, a way back to heaven.
请谁来指点我们呢？
So who is here to lead us back home?
请弥勒祖师、
It's actually the Mila Buddha
济公老师
and the Jigong Living Buddha
来指点我们回天堂的路。
to be the ones taking us back to our heaven.
所以你只要能够带人到佛堂来，
So as long as we can bring our friends and family to the temple,
带他到佛堂来求道，
once they can receive the Tao in the temple,
你当引导师，
you are an introducer and guarantor.
做一世引导师，
Each time you are an introducer and guarantor,
你就有一个功。
you'll have the merit.
你做3000次，
If you perform 3,000 times,
叫做3000功。
this is equivalent of 3,000 good deeds.
你有这3000功，
You have these 3,000 spiritual merits,
就具足了你以后可以回到天上的一个因缘。
this will be sufficient affinity for us to return back to heaven.
所以把人带到佛堂来求道，
So if we can help people to come to the temple and receive Tao,
这个叫做度众。
this is spreading the knowledge of Tao and the goodness of Tao to many people.
那我们把人带到佛堂来，
And after we have brought them to temple,
就是为了要立3000功吗？
is that just because we want to fulfill our own deeds?
其实如果就近的讲，
Essentially,
不是这样的，
we don't do it because of our own benefits.
因为我们看到众生在苦海里面受苦，
It's because we see the sentient beings, they are still lost and stuck in the sea of suffering.
我们仔细想一想，众生有没有苦啊？
let's have a thought. How do we see the people suffering?
感情的苦，
Maybe people are having a hard time with the relationships.
为了钱财的苦，
Maybe people are having a difficult life because of the material wealth or the lack of it.
人跟人之间相处也会有苦，
All the hardships people experience when dealing with other people.
众生都在受苦，
So sentient beings are always in some sort of suffering.
所以释迦佛把这个世间称之为苦海。
And that's why the Shakyamuni Buddha termed this world as the sea of suffering.
我们看到那么众生在受苦，
So we see those sentient beings stuck in the sufferers.
我们心里面很不忍心，
And in our mind, we feel terrible.
所以我们要把他带到天堂去。
That's why we make the vow to bring them back to heaven.
这个就是一个菩萨悲悯众生的本质。
This is the natural characteristics of a Buddha and Bodhisattva.
我们也是在学习这个菩萨的本质，
We're learning of these compassionate characters of the Bodhisattvas.
也不是说一定要立3000功才去度人，
It's not just that, oh, we have to help people receive Tao to qualify for 3,000 good deeds.
是因为我们要把他带到天堂去。
It's just a mere fact that we want to bring the sentient beings back home to heaven.
这个就是一个菩萨的本质。
This is the natural qualities of a Bodhisattva.
那也许有人就会讲说，
And then some people will say,
我又不认识什么人
I don't know a lot of people.
啊，我怎么去度人呢、
How do I go about helping people learn of the Tao?
我听说在雪梨
So Master heard of that in Sydney.
有2个老道亲，
We have two senior Tao relatives.
他们每一天都到那个 shopping center 那边去，坐在椅子上。
Every day they would just go to the shopping center and find a place to sit.
他看到比较善良的人，
And whenever they come across those who look more willing to learn of the Tao,
他就把他渡来佛堂求道。
they would approach them and greet them and invite them to come to temple to receive Tao.
因为他讲话很诚恳，
And because these two Tao relatives, they're very sincere.
态度很亲切，
They have a very sincere attitude,
人看起来又善良，
and they look very good person.
所以他一连渡了很多人。
So that's why a lot of people actually come to a temple with their invitation.
什么力量促成他这样呢？
So what is the power behind their good actions?
就是一个菩萨的本质。
It's the Bodhisattva's natural characteristics of compassion.
你如果没有经过济公老师的指点，
So if we haven't gone through the initiation from the Qigong Living Buddha,
你不知道回天的路怎么走。
we will never know what is the path back to the heavenly homeland.
当你接受济公老师的指点的时候，
Now that we have got the initiation and unlocked our portal by the Qigong Living Buddha,
我们就知道回天的路怎么走。
we are now very clear and aware of exactly what we need to do to return home.
因为这样的想法，
And because of this understanding,
让那2个老菩萨、老道亲，
those two senior Tao relatives in Sydney,
每个念头每一天都想去度人。
every day, every thought of them is to help more people understand and receive Tao.
我们就没有这种发心呢。
And we haven't been having these vows as strongly as them.
所以我们始终度不到人。
And that's why perhaps we haven't made any effort to help people receive Tao.
度不到人，你怎么有3000功呢？
So how do we accumulate our spiritual merits if we could not help people receive Tao?
所以要多去认识别人，
So that's why we need to step out and go and help more people,
去度化众生。
to help people and help them receive Tao.
接下来就是成全道亲。
And the other part is to help the Tao relatives also strengthen their knowledge of Tao.
什么是成全道亲呢？
So what does it involve?
道亲对道理不明白，
So the new Tao relatives, they might still not understand fully of the Tao.
道亲对道没有信心，
And some Tao relatives, and they might start not having the faith in the Tao cultivation.
或者道亲心里面有很多的苦闷，
Or even some Tao relatives, as time goes on, they develop some the bitterness or the hardships in their lives.
我们能够适时，就是适当的时候伸出援手，
We should step in and help wherever it is appropriate.
都去关怀他，
We need to extend our care and loving kindness to them.
找他一起喝一杯咖啡，
Find the time to sit down with them for a cup of coffee,
或者去郊游。
or even go to a picnic together.
那在这郊游跟喝咖啡当中，
So at the time you are sipping the coffee or going on a picnic with them,
谈一些道理，让他能够受用。
you can share with them the knowledge of Tao so that they can overcome their difficulties.
这个就叫成全。
So this is what it means by helping the Tao relatives.
我们现在在台湾
Now in Taiwan,
在推行一种叫做一周一成全。
in Taiwan, the temples are now promoting that to have 1 week, at least have 1 hour or 1 time to help the Tao relatives.
只要你是亲口以上的道亲，
So as long as the people have made the pure vegetarian Chinko vow,
或者你是一个坛主，
or if those who are already a temple keeper,
各位啊，能够成为一个亲口的道亲，
so for those who have made the vows to be a vegetarian a lifelong,
或者一个坛主啊，
or made the vow to be a temple keeper,
它都不是突然的，
it doesn't happen by chance.
那是因为你灵性在里天的时候，
It is because when our spirit was still in the heaven of ultimate truth,
你就发愿要来这个世间当坛主，还有亲口的。
we've already made the promise to the Heavenly Mater that when we come to this sentient world, we will set up a temple and we will be a lifelong vegetarian with the vows.
所以能当一个亲口的道亲呢、
So if we nowadays have become a vegetarian and made the vow in front of Buddha,
尤其能够安一间堂当坛主，
and even further for those who can set up a temple at their home and be a temple keeper,
那跟济公老师跟弥勒佛的缘分都很深厚。
that is already a sign that we have such a strong connection with our Mila Buddha and with our Qigong living Buddha.
所以你当一个坛主，
So if we are a temple keeper,
我们在推行叫做一周一成全。
in Taiwan, now they have the mission of at least once a week to help the Tao relatives to go and help them.
一个礼拜天，一个礼拜之内，你一定要去拜访道亲一次。
So within the week, you need to at least have 1 chance to visit the Tao relatives,
关心道亲一次，
to at least have once a week and see what the Tao relatives are like.
就像我们沟后有一个道亲，
And just like we have a Tao relative at Gold Coast,
他会做点心，
they're very skilled at making the dim sims.
他就送去跟道亲分享。
So she made some dim sims and visits the Tao relatives to bring those dim sims to them.
我们把东西送给人家，
So we're giving things for free.
我们很高兴，
We're also very delighted.
接受我们的人也很高兴。
And those receiving our gifts, they are also very delighted.
于是乎就建立起了很好的道情，
So that establishes the bond with the Tao connection
让他对道更诚心。
and helps them with understanding the Tao further.
这个叫做成全。
So this is the way of helping Tao relatives.
所以，当一个诚心的道亲，
So being a Tao relative that is very sincere at our work,
我们要时时刻刻
we should all the time
懂得去关怀道亲。
think of looking at how to care for other Tao relatives.
如果我们能够关怀他，让他对道有信心，
If we can really care and help the Tao relatives so that they also strengthen their Tao connection,
他会很精进的修道。
they will also be very diligent and dedicated in their Tao cultivation journey.
将来也能成就菩萨道。
And in the future, they will also attain the Bodhisattvahood.
人生这样就 值得了。
then this human lifetime will be well spent and well worth our existence.
第三，我们要如何来培养我们的福德？
And the third way, how do we increase on our spiritual merits?
庄严道场。
It is to make the temple an elegant place.
什么是庄严道场？
What does it mean to make the temple an elegant place?
就像释迦佛在说法的时候，
Just like when the Shakyamuni Buddha is conducting the lectures,
有几千几万个菩萨，
there are thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas,
还有上天很多的护法神，
and immeasurable amounts of celestial guardians,
还有在世间里面很多的众生，
as well as many, many sentient beings participating in the earth.
各位，如果你有机会接触《法华经》，
So if we ever have a chance to look at the Lotus Sutra,
你就会发现很多天上的菩萨，
it describes a lot of the celestials and the Bodhisattvas,
还有天上的神仙护法神，
and all those in the heavens, all the guardian forces,
还有我们人间的人，
as well as the humans on earth.
都一起来听释迦佛说法。
They were all gathered together to listen to the Shakyamuni Buddha's classes.
这个叫做庄严道场。
This is what it means by making the temple an elegant place.
庄严道场有没有功德？
So what type of merit can we get from making the temple elegant?
庄严道场当然有功德。
Making the temple elegant definitely have lots of spiritual merit.
所以我们现在在云端视讯跟各位见面，
So now that we're seeing each other over the internet,
其实是不够的。
it is not enough.
有时间还是要回到道场来，
If we do have the opportunity, we should still come back to the temple,
因为修道不只是用嘴巴讲一讲或耳朵听一次道理，
because Tao cultivation does not rest from talking about it or hearing about it only.
你必须要把它化成行为的实践。
You must turn the Tao knowledge into your daily lifestyle.
你回来道场，
So by coming back to the temple,
你看到人会有微笑，
you're seeing people and you smile to them.
你看到人会懂得去关心别人，
You're seeing Tao relatives, you know to care about them.
你看到年纪比我们大的，你会去尊敬他们。
You see the Tao relatives who are our seniors, we look after them and care about them more.
你看到年纪比我们小的小孩子，你会去照顾他们。
We look at our Tao relatives that are younger than us, we look after them as well.
这个叫做化作行为的实践。
This is the manifestation of our Tao knowledge in our daily lifestyle.
否则的话，如果只有听，
Otherwise, if we just keep listening only,
都没有回到道场来，
and we haven't been coming back to the temple,
那终究是虚幻的。
then in the end, all these are still virtual achievements. They are not real achievements.
尤其我们现在在开班，
And now that we're having our temple classes,
或许不知道你们在家里面，
so Master is not sure whether at our own homes,
那你们的穿着，
our attire,
或者是说你们坐的姿势，
or our sitting posture,
这都要跟道场一样。
we need to make sure we are the same standard, just like we're sitting in the temple or the lecture hall.
为什么呢？
Why is that?
因为不是只有你们在听，
Because not only we are there listening,
只要在讲经典的地方，
so it's any place that the Tao knowledge is being spread,
都有护法神在护持。
there are already guardian forces protecting this time and space.
你现在在家里听，
Now that you're sitting at the comfort of your home,
也有护法神在护持，
there are already guardian forces to protect this so that this can continue.
不是只有你在听哦，
Not just you are listening,
也许你的祖先也在听，
and perhaps our ancestors are also listening at the same time.
也许冤亲债主都在听。
And perhaps our karmic creditors are also listening at the same time.
你看这个是多么庄严的一件事情。
this is such an important conduct.
所以我们虽然在云端讲课，
So that's why even we are talking over the internet,
或许还是希望保持一种庄严，
Master still hope that we can preserve this elegance.
不要一下子到处走来走去的。
Don't walk around.
那你得不到护法神给你的护法。
Otherwise, we could not receive all the protection from the guardian forces.
最主要是有空还是回到道场来。
So more importantly, if we do have the opportunity, we should come back to temple as often as we can.
为什么呢？
Why is that?
因为有佛光普照。
Because they are the Buddha's guardians and the Buddha's blessing.
我们每个人都有业障，
All of us, we have more or less the karmic burdens.
业障就像乌云一样，
Karmic burdens are just like the clouds blocking the sunlight.
当阳光出来的时候，
And when the sun is shining a lot,
乌云就没有了。
that will shine away the dark clouds.
当佛光普照的时候，
In the same theory, when a Buddha's light is very intensive,
业障就没有了。
our karmic burdens will also be put aside.
所以我们有空还是要多回到佛堂来。
So that's why we need to come back to the temple as often as we can.
回到佛堂来呢，
So when we're at the Tao temple,
你很自然的，你的心就会庄严起来。
very naturally, our mind will also be very sincere and focused.
心如果没有庄严，
If our mind is not sincere and focused,
一直都很散乱，
our mind is very chaotic.
人跟人的计较的分别心还是很多。
Then most of the things we think about will still be about competing with others or the quarrels we have with others.
你要回到净土去，
If we really want to return to the heavenly pure land,
很困难。
that is very, very difficult then.
净土是一个清净的地方啊，
The pure land is the most pure place.
我们的心很散乱，
But if our mind is chaotic,
怎么有可能回到净土去呢？
how can we be compatible with the pure land?
所以我们要让我们的心不要散乱。
So we need to find a way that our mind is sincere and focused.
如何让我们的心不要散乱？
How do we achieve that?
佛家有透过禅定的功夫，
In Buddhism, they use the Zen meditation method.
我们都没有练过那个功夫。
We haven't been practicing meditation a lot.
那如何让自己不散乱呢？
So how do we make our mind focused and sincere?
有空就多来佛堂。
So if we have the chance, we should come back to the Tao temple.
你的身体一走进佛堂，
As soon as we step foot into the Tao temple,
久而久之，
the more that we are there,
心就不会散乱。
your mind will also be more and more clear and pure.
或许常常举一个例子，
Master Chen always used the example.
就像如蛇入管。
So just like a snake that is funneled through into a tube.
各位看到蛇在走路，
If we ever saw a snake,
都是弯弯曲曲的，
the snake goes forward by going in a zigzag pattern.
但是这一条蛇，如果你把它抓到那个竹子里面，
But once you put that snake into a bamboo pole,
它还能弯弯曲曲吗？
can the snake's body be zigzag anymore?
没有办法了嘛，
It's not possible.
它就只能直道而行。
It can only travel in a straight line.
所以我们的心里是散乱的。
So our mind is also chaotic.
你如果多来道场，
But the more we can be at the Tao temple,
看到仙佛菩萨，
and we are seeing the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas,
你的心自然就能够静下来，
then our mind will naturally be able to be at peace.
就不会散乱。
Then our minds will be less chaotic.
久而久之，
And the more we can do that,
你才会有一颗清净的心呢、
that's how we accumulate our sincere and focused mind.
有清净的心，
When we have this purity in our mind,
跟净土才能相应啊。
that is when we are compatible with the pure land and heaven.
否则的话，像我们心如果不清净，
Otherwise, if we have a restless mind,
贪嗔痴三毒。
Our thoughts are filled with the three poisons of greed, ignorance, and hatred.
贪心不断，
We never stop thinking about the greed.
憎恨心也不断，
We never stop thinking about the hatred with others.
愚痴心也不断，
Our minds are filled with all sorts of ignorant thoughts.
天天在吃3种毒药，
That means we are eating the 3 types of poisons every day.
你的心灵怎么会好？
How can our mind be healthy?
天天在吃三种毒药，
Every day we're taking in these 3 poisons.
我们怎么能够回到净土去？
How can we return back to the heavenly homeland?
所以要把这3毒扫掉。
So we need to eradicate these 3 poisons.
要如何扫掉呢？
How do we do that?
众生的心是散乱的嘛，
So the sentient beings' mind are always chaotic.
所以我们常常来道场，
That's why we need to come back to our temple as often as we can.
在家里的时候都关照自己的心地。
And even if we are at home by ourselves, we should observe our mind, our state of mind.
如果我们起了一个贪嗔痴的念头，
Once we realize we created the thought of greed,
我们就求老师慈悲
we can seek for the Qigong Living Buddha's mercy
啊，对不起，
and be sorry.
我刚才起了一个不好的念头，
I've made a thought that was inappropriate.
赶快把心端正起来。
And straight away we can rectify our thoughts.
等礼拜天你到佛堂来，
And then when it is the Sunday, we can come back to the temple.
跟仙佛做个忏悔。
We can repent in front of the altar.
久而久之，
The more we can do so,
你的心就清净了。
your mind will be purer and purer.
当你的心清净了，
When your mind is very pure,
你跟净土才相应的。
you can then be compatible with the Pure Land.
所以后学要跟各位报告，
So Master would like to report to us.
有空还是要回到佛堂来。
So if we have time, we should come back to the Tao Temple.
你回到佛堂来是什么呢？
So why are we there at the Tao Temple?
第一个在庄严我们自己的心地，
The first is to help make our minds elegant.
第二个也在庄严道场，
And secondly, we are there to make the temple elegant.
在结净土缘呐、
We are accumulating the affinity of be compatible with the Pure Land.
为什么说我们在结净土缘？
What does that mean, to be making the affinity to be compatible with the Pure Land?
因为我们在布施因缘。
Because we are creating the affinity.
什么叫布施因缘呢？
What does it mean we're giving the opportunity?
各位，你不要以为说你来佛堂，
So don't think about that whenever you're at a temple,
你坐在那个地方，
you're just sitting there.
只是在听讲课，
You're just listening in a lecture.
其实你是在布施因缘。
But you're actually giving the opportunity. You're giving the affinity.
因为佛堂如果没有人来，
Because if no one comes to the temple,
就空荡荡的啊。
it's an empty shell.
所以你来是在布施因缘。
By being at the temple presence, we are giving this opportunity.
佛经里面讲，你们叫做护法菩萨。
So according to a Buddhist sutra, we are also the guardian forces protecting the temple.
所以后续还是要跟各位报告，
So that's why Master would like to report to us.
你有空的话，
If we do have the time and opportunity,
道场有开班，
whenever we have classes at the temple,
还是要回到佛堂来。
we should do our best to return back to the temple.
这个叫做结净土缘啊，
This is accumulating the affinity with the Pure Land.
也在布施因缘啊。
And this is also creating the giving of the affinities.
有人讲说，我也没有钱，
And sometimes people will think, oh, I don't have any money.
所以我没有钱布施。
I don't have extra capacity to donate.
我也不会讲道理，
I don't know a lot about the truth of Tao.
所以我没有办法法施。
I can't perform a lot of the Dharma giving.
但是你可以回来佛堂，
But what we can do is we can come back to the Tao temple.
这个叫做布施因缘。
This is when we're donating and giving the affinity, donating the affinity.
如果我们能够这样，
If we can perform that,
我们就能培植我们的自性福德。
this is a way we can accumulate our spiritual merits.
而这一些福德，
So these spiritual merits
就是我们要回到上天去
is helping us to return to the heaven.
的一些粮食。
These are our credits of going back to heaven.
少了这一些粮食，
If we don't have these credits,
你要回到天上去，
and if we say we want to return to heaven,
就会很困难。
it will be a very difficult process.
就像你要去旅行，
Just like if you want to go on a holiday,
你身上也没有带钱，
if you didn't bring enough money with you,
也没有带粮食，
and you haven't got any ration
你
or
怎么能够
food,
旅行呢？
how can you even set foot on your holiday?
我们要回到天上去，
So if we want to go back to heaven,
路那么远，
the long journey,
当然要带一些粮食，
of course we need to have enough credit, and
而这个粮食就是福德。
this credit is just like our ration to last
啊，
this
福德
journey.
不能靠别人给我们，
And this spiritual journey is not something people can give to us.
自己要去做。
It is your own performance.
这个在经典里面讲叫做身心本不相待。
So this is why in the sutra it says your actions and your mind is all your responsibilities.
没有人可以代替的。
No one can take those in our own responsibilities away from us.
比如说，我们看到我们爸爸妈妈在生病了，
So for example, if we see our parents that is having an illness,
我们心里面很疼啊，很痛啊。
we are very terrible. We feel terrible in our mind.
可是我们能代替他生病吗？
But can we take away the illness and let ourselves take the burden for them?
没有办法的。
That's impossible.
所以有一次，释迦佛跟他的弟子阿难尊者讲，
So there's a time that Shakyamuni Buddha said to his student Ananda,
阿难尊者有一次几乎遭受磨难，
that there was a period where Ananda actually gone through a lot of the examinations and tests from the devils.
释迦佛跟他说啊，
Then the Shakyamuni Buddha came to his rescue and said to him,
你修你的，
you continue on your cultivation.
你修你的，
If you cultivate, you are the one who gains.
我修我的，
The Buddha himself also cultivates.
我修我的。
The Buddha cultivates and only the Buddha can gain.
个人吃饭，个人饱。
We all eat our own meals. We are the only ones who make our stomachs full ourselves.
没有办法相待的，
No one can eat for us and no one can cultivate for us.
所以修行还是要靠个人。
So that's why a cultivator needs to be responsible for their own cultivation progress.
这三种福德还是自己要去做。
These types of giving, this is all reliant on our own effort.
路还是自己要去走。
The path ahead of us is still up to us to make the journey.
有了这三种福德，
And when we have these three types of spiritual merits,
以后我们要回天堂那么长的路，
and in the future we want to go back to heaven, it is a long journey,
才有助缘啦。
then we have enough credit and be available to go back.
除了福德以外，
So not only is the spiritual merit,
福慧双修嘛，
we need to cultivate the wisdom.
接下来就要修慧德。
The next concept is to cultivate the wisdom.
如何修慧德呢？
How do we cultivate the wisdom?
或许下一次再跟各位谈。
Master will leave that to the next class for us.
那这个礼拜我们就讲到这个地方。
So this week we'll conclude our class here.